among your quarterbacks? Any separation at all in that group right now?
Pretty good. We graded out almost 88% mentally as a group. I didn't do all the stats together. You guys did that. So stay the course.
When you talk about that kind of a grade, I mean, I know it's collective, but still, how does that compare in terms of what you would be hoping to see if it was just one guy?
Is that a good grade as well?
Yes. Yeah, those are good grades, yeah. Last week they graded close to 90. I think they might have graded 90, which is a really high grade for a quarterback.
How impressive is that with the fact that, they're splitting reps, maybe not able to get as much into a groove? Is that even more impressive with those mental
I mean, obviously there's advantages and disadvantages. How much, I'm not sure. What it does is keeps our offense from opening up what we do. We have to have reduced packages so we can get the reps we need before the games, which I like because I think overall that helps our offense.
Taking into account that mental grade, I mean, what are the qualifications? How do you assess that?
So they have a pre-snap, a post-snap. They have a job they're supposed to do. They have technique they used in that, and then they have whatever their read or concept is to get the ball where it's supposed to be. It's a pretty in-depth formula to get to that point, and it's difficult to get a good grade at that position.
Mike, I'm curious about not just this quarterback situation, but any quarterback situation you've had during your time here where you've been needing to pick a starter. How does that work? Is that a discussion between offensive coordinator, quarterback coach, you, offensive coordinator, the three? Like, how does that, when that has to be ultimately decided? Who's in the room?
Well, it's not ever been one formula. It's varied based on what's happened. This one's a little unique now because of transfer players coming in that are mature, that are in their last year of eligibility all across the country. And we're playing I don't know if you guys, I'm sure you know, we're playing a lot of players at a lot of positions, not just quarterback. And our numbers and our legs and fatigue should be at a good level because of that. But not every one of them has been the same.
So, I don't know, rewind to, say, the year that Taylor, Corn Dog, becomes your quarterback. Like, when you guys make that decision, he's the guy. Who makes that decision?
Who was here with him?
Oh, Casey.
Which player?
You had Drew Brown coming in, and Spencer would have been.
I don't think he was here with Corn Dog.
He arrived later.
Spencer was like.
They both came in that summer, but you had already named him before that.
So the year Corn Dog played, Drew Brown was here? I don't think so, was he?
No.
Yeah, Drew Brown, I think, was the next year.
He was here
Corn
for 2
Dog
years.
was he didn't have a competition. I don't think he had a competition.
Well, I remember when you announced
He
he was
did?
your guy at Big
I don't
Media
know. I
Day,
should
it was a
know, but
surprise.
Spencer Sanders was true freshman.
Yes.
Yeah, he wasn't even close to Corn Dog. Yeah, it wasn't.
When's the last time you had, I don't know, when did you have it come down to two guys? I'm trying to even think. JW and
Drew Brown and Spencer.
Okay.
That was Spencer's redshirt freshman year. Drew Brown came in as a
transfer.
veteran guy. He had played at Hawaii for quite a while. I think that was correct. I think Corn Dog was here. He was the guy. Spencer came in and he was nowhere near ready to play as a
So
true.
19, you make the decision to go Spencer. Instead of Drew.
That would have been the last one. Yeah, that was when Drew came in as a mature player from Hawaii.
So when you pull the trigger and say, this is our guy, who makes that call?
Back then it was, I was listening to, that would have been Gleason was here, and we had discussions about what to do, and we felt like at that time that his ability to run and make a play if something broke down gave him a real edge at that time.
So he is the OC and the quarterback coach. Was you were listening to him, and then you guys made that decision? Okay.
So is it?
So you go in there, act like you're listening to him, walk out and do what the hell you want to do. I mean, right, that's what the boss, you meet with the editor, he tells you all day, yeah, okay, whatever. It's you do it to the wife, right? I mean, well, you don't do it to the wife, but you do it to your wife, yeah.
We're going on vacation over here.
And she's doing the same thing. So
Is it different with an extra voice now, though? Because you've got a quarterback coach that's not your OC.
we have discussions about it and watch practice during the week and what can each one of them bring to the table. And I mean, there's a lot of questions about it, but if I were just to ask you, because I'm sure people, and I'm not on social media, so I'm not sure what the feel is, but I'm sure people want to have a comment on it. But who are the two that you would tell so far watching them play, you're not playing this game? Just think about that for 30 seconds, okay? Which two quarterbacks, after you watched game 1 and game 2, that you're saying, you're out? You're out. You're not playing. How come? So if they come in and sit down and say, Coach, how come I didn't get to play in this game based on what happened in game 1 and 2? You have to have a good reason for that. Or you just have to say, hey, look, I'm the boss. It is what it is. So there's a different side of it than that.
How much of it is watching the team, particularly the offense? Do you look to see who they seem to be migrating to, or does that play a factor?
I've watched them. I watch them in practice. I watch them in a game, and I watch them in the hotel, and I watch them at meals. And I just had a discussion with a guy about it, and I don't see them partial to anybody. I think they like them all. I mean, that's just my feeling. Now, maybe I'm blind when it comes to that, but I watch a lot of those things. And I watch the quarterbacks now, and I watch the quarterbacks in the hotel Friday and Saturday. We felt like 2 weeks in a hotel. And I watch them come to meetings. I watch them go to meals. I watch them, all the quarterbacks sit at the same table. I watch their interaction amongst each other, and I watch their relationship with their coach and J-Dub and all those guys. And they're goofing around and showing each other their phones, whatever they're showing, and they're laughing and whatever. So I kind of I try to keep a pretty good barometer on that, and I think they're fine.
To get to another topic, running backs, and what's the desired number per carry you want?
Well, we don't have it. Here's why I think our running backs are playing well in the second half and late in the game. One, we're making a few changes in blocking better, which helps a lot. And two, they're fresh. We don't have a guy running in the fourth quarter that's already got 15 carries in 100-degree weather.
Ollie's averaging 6.1 a carry, Collins 4.4, Jaden Nixon 5.4.
So part of where we're at is if the team will continue to buy in being unselfish, and so let's put yourself in the player's shoes. Where can the unselfish part go away? I'm not seeing a lot of myself on social media. I'm not being recognized for national awards of the week, things like that, or my friends or family from back home maybe saying, how come I'm not getting a number of catches? How come I'm not playing certain many plays on defense? What's going on? That can create unselfishness. But if you're the three running backs and you look at it and you say that if my body's in really good condition and I'm fresh because I'm not getting overused and taking a bunch of hits, and when I am in the game, I'm really running hard and I'm playing well, that's a plus also. So then the last piece of that is people would say, okay, well, how is that going to help me in the NFL? The NFL is going to evaluate you on the plays you're in the game. If you're in the game 30 plays, that's what they're going to write you up on. If you're in the game 60 plays, that's what they're going to write you up on. They don't care about the 30 that you're rotating in. I mean, there's been quarterbacks in college football that weren't starters and didn't play a lot that made it in the NFL, right? They didn't care about that. They just went off what they see. So that's the unselfish part that we need as a team. I think that helps our team. We're playing a lot of guys on defense right now. And so far, we've been fortunate enough to keep guys fresh and healthy.
So you think if you can come out and maybe hit the right schemes at the start of the game, the run game, I mean, it looks fairly healthy on paper.
We need to get it. We've got 2 weeks we've gotten away with not running the ball well in the first half. We're not that. Our luck's going to run out eventually. Okay, and that's not a secret. That's what the offensive staff's been told. That's what I told myself in the mirror, and that's what the players have been told. And everybody knows it. It's kind of like when a wideout drops a pass and the coach says, "You got to make that play. You got to make that catch." Really? He knows that. Tell him why he dropped it and fix it. He knows he needs to make the catch. We know we need to run the ball better, But we are putting things in place to make it happen, and we're practicing and working hard, and we need to get it established earlier in the game. We've been fortunate that we've been able to overcome some of that while not running the ball in the first half. That's my opinion.
You talk about rotating players on both sides of the ball, quarterbacks, running backs, all of the defense, but the offensive line is the group that's not really rotated a lot. Why is that?
Well, we were down a couple guys for a while. Hopefully we might get one back this week. Preston's back with us, so that should allow us to do a little bit of it. They're the guys that traditionally don't. We talked about this in here. They don't rotate a lot. But when you go into the game with 3 centers, 3 guards, and 3 tackles that you feel comfortable with, you can rotate them some, and then if you have a chance to bring a young kid in a little bit in play, it's a better deal. But we haven't had that luxury now because of the situation we were with. We might get back to that this week. We'll see.
When you need to see them out of practice to make you confident that those first half adjustments can work with throwing the ball?
Say again, I didn't hear the first part.
What do you want to see from the offensive line in practice that makes you confident?
Well, we need to be physical. That's what running the ball comes down to, right? Coming off, being physical. It's the 2 of us on one of you until I come off on a backer, or it's the 2 of us on one of you until somebody folds around. And it's not a complicated process. It's physicality, it's toughness, it's desire. It's not easy. It's a war down in there. So you just got to be willing to play with great effort and be physical.
I love the concept of cut-ups. Did you see Brooks on Ollie's 2-yard touchdown run? His block.
Did I see? Yes.
Twisted the dude. Now, this is one of the more physical blocks I've seen.
We had some of that, and he played out of control some in this game. He got his body out from underneath his feet a lot of times, but effort and being physical and trying to play tough is not an issue with him at all. Little more balance, a little more under control, but he's an over-aggressive guy, right? So you got to pull him out of a fight other than push him in, which is a good thing.
2 years ago.
And we got something out of our tight ends in this game. Our tight ends tried to play physical.
2 years ago, you were trying to work around some issues on your offense. At Spencer, you knew what you had there at quarterback, but there were still issues, all sorts of them. The one thing you could rely on was your defense, and that got you through.
You talking about Jim's last 2 years, or even last year?
2 years ago, this last year with you.
Yeah, we played pretty good on defense last year.
Yeah.
But Jim's last 2 years, yes.
But if that's sort of a prototype for you, knowing what you have on defense and being able to lean on and rely on defense, no matter what the situation is on offense, that was an ideal situation for you, right?
Yeah, offense is a bonus. I mean, I'm an offensive guy, but I've transitioned years ago that when your defense is solid and you can count on a consistent game, there's going to be times, there's good defenses that don't play like they're supposed to, right? Just look across the country. But when you can rely on them being consistent throughout the season, then offense becomes a bonus. And that's why we're heavy in the scholarship area defensively 5 years ago or 6 years ago, whenever we did that. And that's helped us some. And it affects your offense. But we were willing to do that to be consistent on defense.
So translating that to your current situation where, again, you've got questions on offense that are pretty obvious. Right now, how good do you feel about relying on your defense to carry?
I don't know. It's too early. I'll know a lot more in 3 or 4 weeks. But I'm pleased with what they've done up to this point. And so we talked about being able to rush the ball early in the game. And I think, and I'll go back to that, and then I'll come to this. Some people get a misconception of rushing being yardage per game, because we don't. There was 2 weeks ago, there was 6 plays less a game with this new clock. I think now it's 8.5 plays less a game. There's fewer plays in the game. Your yardage totals aren't going to be as much, and defenses are more willing to let you throw a little bit than rush the ball effectively. Some of the stuff that we've seen, and so getting around that 4 to 4.5 yard average per carry is going to be more important than saying they need to rush for 150 yards in this game. We need to do that. Like, I don't want to go in front of the team and say, hey, if we don't run for 150 yards in this game, it's going to be hard to win. Well, that might not be true. They might not be in an overloaded box and playing a lot of man. We might have to throw for 350. So it's more of the 4 to 4.5 yards per carry. Okay? And then when you go back to the defensive side of it, it's the consistency that we need to improve in there is the tackling early in the game. We didn't tackle very good out there in Tempe early in the game, and then we did tackle better later. We have a plan for that. We're going to tackle in practice this week again, and hopefully we get a little better each week. And I said that last week. I thought we got a little better out there tackling, but we still need to get better. The only way to do it is to do it this week in practice. The only way I know to do it.
Yeah, I don't know if you'll ever have a defense like that again.
Like
2 years ago.
I hope so. I don't know. That one was ranked top 2 or 3 in the country at the end of the year. I don't know what it was ranked, but we'll see. But if you can get relatively close to that, you'll be in pretty good shape.
That's what I'm wondering if you have a sense that they have to.
Not yet. Not yet. It'll be interesting as we develop in Brian's defense and our defense now, and some odd front, some even front. If we try to recruit to specifics that can help us, that's what we did with Coach Knowles. Is we sat down, and Jim was really, really, really smart. We sat down and just looked and said, this is not any good anymore. This is what we need to do. These are the type of players we need to get, and then you can have at it. And that's what happened, and it worked. Hopefully he'll do it again.
2 weeks in, is Brian Nardo's defense where you want it to be at?
No, I mean, it's going to take time. I mean, these guys are still learning it's a layered defense, and they're still learning it. What I said when he first took over is it took us 3 years with Jim, right? I hope it doesn't take 3 years with him. I don't think it will, but it's going to take a little time.
Like a couple years ago, not to belabor the sort of 21 references, but early on that team found ways to win before it sort of found its stride. Feels like these guys, it may not be the same, it may not be pretty all the time, but they're finding ways to win. Are there things about teams that just knuckle down and find ways to win that you've sort of seen over the years that maybe this team has in its characteristics?
You see it quite a bit, and you're seeing it recently because of the transfer and the parity that's out there. Like TCU found a way to win 3 or 4 games last year they could have lost. Now Georgia dominated everybody, different ball game, but there's teams that have done that. I worked with a guy a long time ago that said at the end of the quarter, fourth quarter, if we're up by 1 point, then we win. And he said, I just want to win by 1 point. And, that's an exaggeration, but you just got to kind of find a way to stay in there and finish in the fourth quarter and win, until you can get hitting on all cylinders, if that ever happens.
Teams that have, you mentioned transfer portal, which tends to be older guys that you're bringing in. Does that lend itself to being able to maybe finish games, win games that are close?
Veteran players?
Yeah.
Oh, sure, yeah. I don't think you were in Tempe at the post game. I said I didn't really know how these guys would play on the road because I don't know very many of them. Now, the young guys that played for us hadn't played on the road, so I didn't really know how they would react. 88 made a lot of plays at wideout. I didn't know how he was going to play on the road. So there's a little bit of a learning phase for me as we kind of try to put it all together.
You mentioned in Tempe, going to that 4-man front really freed up Colin, and it seemed like he played really well. Is that something you maybe want to mix in more of?
Well, we want to be in an odd front, and we want to play even, which we did, and that's an even front. And an even front allows us to take one of 4 players and play them on a line of scrimmage. And, if he walks up, there's 4 down and 2 backers. Now it's the same as it would be, right? It's the same. It's an even front. We have the ability. He has the ability. We're working on it to where we can take one of 4 people and play them on the line of scrimmage and be an even front team.
With whether he was up on the line or in the traditional linebacker spot, was Saturday a better representation of what he can be in this defense?
He played much better at linebacker. He's going to go through a growing phase. He played his whole life like this, and now he's standing back here playing like this. So, I didn't play a lot of basketball, but I played facing the goal, and now all of a sudden you want me to play with my back to it? That's kind of an illustration of what he's going through. But he played better.
Mike, to go back to offensive line, you saw improvement on Saturday, correct?
We made some adjustments, and our physicality was better. And we're a little better. We're a little better now than we were last year. but we still need to continue to get better. We need to be around that 4 to 4.5 per carry, so we can allow us to be balanced it allows us to be balanced on offense.
If the defense were to give up a couple scores early, would you be confident in the offense to compete in a shootout?
Oh, gosh, I don't know. We hadn't been in one yet. I mean, we can spread out and fling it around a little bit. We have been fortunate that we have some depth and some maturity at wideout that we hadn't had in the last 2 years. That helps.
Mike, you've been asked before about the new Big 12 members, but you visited one on Saturday. Did you learn anything about Arizona State you didn't know before?
You know, it's funny. We've been out there so many times and played there, bowl games at that stadium, and gosh, I don't know. I've been to Phoenix 25 times in the last 20 years, and so we kind of know a lot about him. A nice coach, a young guy. He looks 16. But they're excited to be in our league and listening to him. And I think that the location of them and the other two schools coming here is really good geographically for us. It kind of keeps most everything in this part of the country, other than when you hit the 3 schools on the East Coast. And so I think it's a good addition.
So you guys hadn't previously tackled in practice, right?
I mean, we hadn't gone to the ground in a while.
Was there? Do you remember what one thing in particular made you want to make the change to do that in practice moving forward?
Now?
Yeah.
Well, we're not going to go all the way to the ground, but we can get into a thud mode, and we want to avoid sideways tackling where you start leg whipping people, all that. But we need to be more physical. We were in a little more of a tag off in preseason, and now we need to be a little more physical in our tackling mode.
I think it's before the end of the month, but along the lines of talking about ASU being in the league, the athletic directors, and I think it's the athletic directors and conference officers are going to get together and start discussing the policies going forward of scheduling. Have you thought about what you want to say to Chad? I mean, the quad system looks good, and what 3 schools would you want to be in a quad with where you play them all the time?
I mean, I really hadn't thought much about it. I mean, I just know what I've heard. I don't think they're going to do that. I think they're going to rotate, and I think teams are going to play teams, and there's not going to be a divisions or quads. Now, I don't know that. I just know kind of what I hear. I think it's just going to be all-out rotation.
Do you want some teams, for whatever purpose, that you play all the time? Because you don't have a necessary rival, but...
I mean, I don't know. I don't know what would be best.
Playing Texas for recruiting purposes?
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't imagine that we won't have a couple games in Texas every year. I wouldn't think. This year was a little different based on what happened, but I don't really have any indication other than that they might try to do some things that could be more feasible travel-wise on locked-in games, maybe. So.
Mike, I know you've gotten good production out of all your running backs, the 3 main guys.
Mm-hmm.
But what have you seen out of Ollie that you maybe particularly have liked, what he brings to that position for you?
Well, Ollie's a little different this year because he's not a true freshman. He's matured a little bit. He's played, so he's kind of adjusted to it. And there's times that we played him last year that he got tired. And he's fresh so far, and he's running that way. He made one great behind his head, over his head, one-handed catch that he wouldn't have really made last year because he was probably been too tired to get his arm up there to do it. And so I'm seeing a little more explosiveness from him, and he's a little fresh mentally because of not having to play as much.
When you say he's fresher, is that just a year under his belt, or did he do some things very specifically to get himself physically, mentally ready for that?
Maturity. He's older. When you're a freshman, there's a workload involved. The workload that it takes to play at this level is massive compared to what they're used to, and it wears on you. It wears him down. And now I just think he feels better, and he's not getting beat up a lot. Running backs get beat up. They take a lot of hits, so that's why we like playing multiple number of guys.
With those guys, are you leaning more on sort of strict rotation, or is it more situational, or how you kind of decide?
Waz is doing a good job of trying to keep an idea of where they're at, and some guys may be better than others at doing certain things. Not a lot, but maybe. So he'll be smart in making those decisions, and then just try to keep them fresh. You know, that's the one position. If a guy gets rolling, he's hot, and maybe stays in a little longer. I don't know.
You use Jaleel Johnson and Deshaun Brown both quite a bit in Tempe. What do you like about those two guys?
Well, you're young. Obviously, Deshaun's powerful, very, very powerful. And then Jaleel is going to be an active guy. He's going to use speed, agility, movement, things like that. They're young players that need to play. So if we get into the 8th week of the season and we get a couple D linemen that get ankles and are banged up, that we put them in the game and they're playing on the road in conference play, it's not the first time they've been on the field. Because they made mistakes. They made mistakes in this game. And they made mistakes based on their youth. So we'd like to work all that out. But they look good rushing the quarterback. They look power. They look like they're going to give us a good future here in rushing the quarterback. So we need to get them on the field and play them. We'll see what they do. We put Jaleel out there in the 4th quarter when we needed stops. He was playing.
What have you seen from South Alabama?
This is the most physical team we played. This is the best team we'll play up to this point. They're physical. They've done a nice job. They're a very aggressive defense. They want to hit you in the mouth. Their linebackers are aggressive. They have undersized D linemen to, in somebody's opinion, they got some 6'1", 6'2", 300-pound guys that are explosive and powerful, play hard. They run to the ball. They tackle. This is the most physical team we played.
Mike, just obviously you said you don't know when you'll have a set rotation, but just playing so many guys and given the current state of college athletics, is a lot of the guys transferring out for you at all? Does that stick with you at all?
Does it what?
Does it stick with you at all? Do you consider when you're playing so many players at a time and don't have a foreseen rotation?
Well, I'm not really following.
When you're rotating so many guys, just given the current state of college athletics, is a lot of maybe some guys transferring out where you will
Transferring from offense? Why would they transfer?
just, they're not getting enough playing time or they're not happy with
Or
it.
the guys, if I don't play, then they leave because they're not playing at all.
Yeah.
See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It goes both ways. And we're doing what we think is best for the players that we have brought in here, giving them a fair opportunity to play. We're not really worried about the portal because if a player's going to transfer, he's going to transfer. If he comes in and transfer because of the reason that you said, then what about the guy that got to play that was productive and he wouldn't have got to play? So we can't keep everybody happy. It's impossible. So we have to do what we think is best for the team and the longevity of the season. But I will say this, that when we have brought mature players in the program, Goodlow, Bowman, Collins, Stribling, Kirkland, I don't know, we are somewhat obligated to play them and see what they can do if in practice they perform well enough to earn that right. Or we shouldn't have brought him in my opinion. That's just my personal opinion. Because when we brought him here, we told him we were going to give him a chance to play. So we need to kind of follow through on what we said. That's the best answer I have for that.
Has your relationship with Gunner changed at all now that maybe his relationship with the team has changed, being in the mix for starters at all?
My relationship with him?
As a father and as a dad, do you support him any differently now? Or?
Gunner is Gunner. Gunner does football, goes and does football at night and goes home. That's what he does. He's different, Someday when you have kids, they're all different. Our relationship has been the same. He doesn't call me or text me or come by my office and ask how did I play or any of that. Not one time. Or why didn't I get to play more? Why did I play this? Why was I third? Or he has never once come in and asked me that. So not really. But he was that way before anyway. Even when he was in high school. We would talk about, like he might ask me about a team they're playing in this defense and why is this defense doing that? I might tell him that, but he doesn't stray much away from that. That's just not his personality. He's pretty much to himself.
Garrett's gotten a start. Allen's gotten a start. Is it safe to assume that it'll be Gunner, Garrett, Allen this weekend, or is that TBD?
Oh, we got to practice this week. I mean, we watch practice. I mean, I'm not trying to be a smart ass, but we watch them practice, and if we don't feel good about somebody, then that's different. But if they all practice well and we think they're prepared, then we'll play them, and then we'll make that decision in the latter part of the week. But we certainly watch them, and they need to. They do. If I was them, I would come in on Sunday and study and watch who I'm playing. I would be in here today watching who I'm playing and knowing the team and what they do on defense and what their tendencies are. And then I would get the call sheet and the game plan, and I would study it and know it. So when I'm in practice, I make the right adjustments, the right checks, get the ball in the right people's hands. So on Saturday, I get an opportunity to get fair reps with the other guys. That's what they should do.
Mike, I think it was right before the opener, maybe your press conference before the opener, you said, I can't remember if you said your hope or your plan, but basically that you really would like to have a starting quarterback named before conference play. Only got one more game. Is that still your hope, plan, whatever that was? Or
I don't know. I very well could have said that. That might be difficult. Because you guys have to remember, when we started this process, I didn't really know how it was going to pan out either. I only knew what I saw. And I only knew what I saw and who deserved to be in the game some. What the results would be, I hoped it would be good, but I didn't know that for sure. So we'll just have to play it by ear as we go.
Vols had a pretty good game on Saturday. Have you noticed any changes in him?
Who, Lyric?
Yes.
Yeah, Lyric is another one of those. He falls in the same category like Ollie. He's been here another year and a little more mature. Starting to realize that, I can make it through the season. The wear and tear doesn't beat my body up, and he's learning. Those guys on that side of the ball are going through a little bit of a change with the new style of defense, and so they're not having to think as much, but they still have to think some based on the new structure and another year under his belt. And those guys should really start getting better every game from here on out. The guys that played a little bit, but now they're out there a lot. Good? All right.
thanks, Mike.